Hello out there. Today let's talk about references and referencing your publication manuscript. When was the last time a co-author, a colleague, or even a friend asked you, "You have a reference for that?" If you're a researcher, that question probably feels a lot like the everyday questions of, "How do you know? Who told you that? What's your point?" So how did you respond? My typical replies are pretty simple. It's yes, no, or sometimes, do I need one? And occasionally, who wants to know? Because the real context is this. You know what you want to say, but sometimes you need some backup. So why do references matter? Well, when you're writing a manuscript for publication, the key question isn't whether someone else will ask you for a reference. It's whether you need one, and you need to answer that question before anyone has to ask. That means being clear about the purpose of references. In my view, references serve two main functions. First, they provide backup to what you're saying. And second, they offer clarification or illumination to what you want to say. And how do journals really want you to use citations? It's a good question. I once considered submitting a paper to a journal with a very specific author guidelines about references. Interestingly, they didn't limit how many references you could use, but they were very clear about how the references were used. Authors were told to leave out any sources that did not directly support the rationale for the study in the introduction or underscore the significance of the results in the discussion. In other words, citations were meant to substantiate claims made based on prior data or connect your findings to earlier work. What they discouraged was using references just to show how broad your knowledge of the field might be. So there's no resume building through citations in journals. Well, references, how old is too old? So what about how recent your references should be? Their suggestion was to prioritize original research from the last 5 years and to include review papers which often point to older, still important studies. You know, some reviewers and editors get suspicious of citations that are more than 10 years old. Possibly because they published something newer that you didn't cite. Anyway, during peer review, you may also be asked to add more references when you revise and resubmit your manuscript. Sometimes that's because reviewers simply disagree with you about what counts as common knowledge and what needs to be supported by a citation. That's not a big problem. Just identify an appropriate reference and add it to your list and a citation in the text. You know, other times reviewers ask for extra citations so readers can more easily explore an issue you mention, which is fine. And occasionally, especially if a reviewer's research background is close to yours, they'll ask you to cite something they've published themselves. Yes, that really does happen. What about AI and referencing? You know, even if you're very good at searching for references, say for a systematic review or to answer a reviewer's question, your favorite AI assistant will find things much faster than you can. And AI isn't limited to the keywords or metadata you use in database searches of places like PubMed or Web of Science, it's trained to follow plain text instructions. That means it looks for words and titles and abstracts, author names and affiliations and keywords. And when copyright allows, even the full text of articles in its memory. But remember, AI is an assistant. It's a tool. Think, Siri, Alexa, or Hey Google. And just a little bit closer to C3PO or R2D2 of Star Wars fame. The AI might ask for clarification if something doesn't make sense, but the quality of what it gives you depends entirely on the quality of what you ask. So why not ask your AI assistant how it searches for references and then try a few questions you already know the answers to, like a pop quiz, for figuring out how to use it. The real reason references matter, well, there's a last thought. Yeah, why do they matter? Because they give your work context and credibility. They sharpen your hypothesis, they make your reasoning transparent, they shape how your findings are understood. In short, references are the bridge between what's already known and what you are adding. For me, their real power isn't in propping up your research or showing how much you know, it's in illuminating it. Showing what's new, what's different, and why your contribution counts. The other real important thing is because someday your article, will be somebody else's reference. That's a key thing, and that's my take on it. Reflect on it, and come back sometime to talk about some other things.